Welcome to our new channel.
TwinTalk. Now with TwinTalk, we want to just come and bring just some of our life experiences to you guys. I'm Jewel.
And I'm Juliet.
And what is we kind of thought, look, we like nostalgia type things. We love that. We're 80s babies, you guys.
And we like to talk.
And we love to talk. And we love to laugh. It's one of those hard, okay, you guys? When you get to know Juliet and I, you're going to realize that when it comes to twins, the things that you've heard, it is the same. We finish each other's sentences.
I know what she's thinking.
Yes, her kids are my kids.
Yeah, we're in a room full of people.
Yeah.
And me and Jewel will be thinking the same thing. And we give each other a look and we know.
Yeah, every single time.
Yeah. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's like every time.
Yeah.
So welcome to our channel. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the first episode. The first episode is called Green Acres. We were realizing something that because we're 80s babies, we love the sitcoms. So we thought, okay, Green Acres, we have actually lived that. So we're going to sit back and just kind of give you guys a little story about Green Acres.
So relax.
Listen to our story.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you this, for you that don't know, if you young babies out there, Green Acres was about a military guy. What happened was he retired from the military. He decided with him and his wife, they were going to have a farm in the country.
Were they in New York City? Is that what
I think they were. Green Acres is a place to be.
That's where they moved to.
Darn, I love you, but give me Park Avenue. They were in New York.
They were in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they moved to the country, okay? So we have a little Green Acre story to share with you. So,
real life. Okay, so it starts, guys. We were born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, till we were 10 years old. So growing up in Detroit, man, when I think about so many good memories, when I think about growing up in Detroit, I think about family because we have a very close-knit family. My mom was very close to her siblings, her dad, her aunt. It was just a close family.
Because her mom passed.
Right, her mom passed very young. My mom was very young when her mother passed. She was 25.
Yeah.
She was 25 when her mother passed. But so she was very close to the other extended family. And we were so close, guys, that we lived right across the street, like 3 houses up the street from my mom, from her family. And we were always, she was on the phone with them, or we were down the street. So we grew up with very close to family.
And we loved our cousins.
We loved our cousins. Oh my God. Loved our cousins. And we were the oldest cousin. So when you're the oldest cousins, you look after everybody. So we were the little mothers. We were the mothers.
Mother cousins.
The mother cousins. Mother cousins. That's a good name too. We were the mother cousins and we looked after them, and we were always either going somewhere together, they were spending the night, or something. So those are the things I think about. I think about my granddaddy. Man.
Oh, granddaddy was the best granddad.
He was.
When I think about granddad, I think about you guys. He worked like it's like a steel mill or some kind of like a factory in Detroit. And my mom she would go by there probably once every month, and she would go. Okay, you think more? Okay, maybe more than that. Probably more than that. She would go by there, and she would go in that little it was like a dark little corridor for the metal place. Yeah,
he worked at a metal factory.
Yeah, and it would say, "Ron, your daughter's here," and he said, "Okay." And granddaddy would come out. You guys, he had all this black soot on his face. "Hey, baby, how you doing, babies?" He would just hug us and just love on us. I can still smell that smell.
I can still smell it.
Granddaddy.
And granddaddy, y'all, he played the lottery. My granddad played the lottery, and he won all the time.
He would have dreams. Yeah, such and such came to me, and these are dead people. He played the lottery, and he hit it every single time.
They came to me in my dream and told me what the number was. So, and granddaddy always had a wad of cash. That's one thing I remember about granddaddy. He always had a wad of cash, and whenever he saw
was so generous.
He gave my mama a lot of money, and then he would give us all a bill, whatever that was. But such fond memories of granddaddy, and he had this watch. Remember the watch, Mr. Chain?
Yeah, he had a watch. He also, Mr. Chain was his chain. That's right. Thing, his little chain. That's right. But he dressed. You guys, there's something about a Detroit man. I don't care where I'm at. I can always spot a Detroit man because they got that je ne sais quoi. They have it.
I would say so.
They dress really sharp. They have fedora hats. It's just a certain kind of style. It's a certain kind of swag. Granddaddy had that way back in the day.
He did.
Always wore a suit.
He did. GQ all the time.
Yep.
GQ
always dressed nice.
Dressed
nice. Fedora hat.
Absolutely. So those are the kind of memories I think about. And then like I said, we were very close to family. And even in when we were about 8 years old, we moved. We actually moved off of that Michigan. And we moved to Highland Park, Michigan, which was about 25, 30 minutes away from our family. And even the neighborhood there was like,
Yeah.
our house was that house that everybody came
They
to.
did. They did.
Our house, my mom and my dad were like the neighborhood mom and dad.
Yeah.
My dad would take every Saturday. He took
He
all
did.
the little boys in the neighborhood
He
to
did.
see. My
Kung
brother
Fu.
loved kung fu. Kung fu.
He loved
Bruce Lee.
He loved Bruce Lee. Yep.
He loved Bruce Lee. So my father would take all the neighborhood boys to
Yeah,
see
he
Bruce
did.
Lee movies, and then we would hang out in the neighborhood with the girls. But it was like our house was the house to be at.
Yeah. But remember, a lot of those boys didn't have dads, Juliet. They didn't have fathers.
I don't think any. I think
Remember, grandmothers were raising some of those kids, and their moms were single moms.
Yep.
But they really didn't have a dad.
Our dad was the only dad on the block, if I remember correctly.
I'm telling
He
you.
was. So they were like, my dad was like the mentor to the young men.
He was.
And with that being said, my mom, she's just like a social butterfly.
Yeah.
She doesn't meet a stranger.
Yeah.
So we quickly became. She was the neighborhood mom,
Yeah.
and my dad was like the mentor to the young boys.
Mhm.
So everybody was always at our house.
Yeah.
I remember that we always had to be home by the street lights
every time. Yeah.
and we would be
Like,
home on
don't
our
meet
porch.
us. You bet. What they say?
What's that? You be home by
the street lights.
By the street lights.
Don't
And-
meet me there. Beat me there.
Absolutely.
Mom didn't play it.
And we had to be on our porch, but all the little neighborhood kids would be at
On
our
the porch
house
with us. Yeah.
because we had to be home by the street lights, and
Yeah.
it was just our house was that house to go to.
Nobody had cell phones. You didn't
Nobody.
care. You just knew when the street lights started twinkling, you better get home. Yeah.
So growing up, and it's another thing too. We would explore that city because that was home. That's
It
just what we
was.
knew. In the summertime,
was,
guys,
yeah.
we would go to the rec center. They had rec center. You could just go up there and get
Get
free
lunch.
They
Lunch in the
feed you.
summer.
They took such good
They
care
didn't
of
ask
us.
you, what is your address? What do you
Right.
do? They just say, hey, come in here. It was Joy. Remember it was Joy?
Yeah, I
It was
do
called
remember.
Joy.
Yep.
They said, come in here between like 11 and 1. Just get what you want. Remember even the commodity store? Remember the commodity?
I don't remember mine.
Yeah, it was like the government cheese. You could just walk up in there at the commodity store and
That's
get
right.
chips.
You sure could.
Remember the
Peanut butter,
peanut butter chips? And they had that whole, they
cheese
had
that we made the
nasty
grilled
milk.
cheese with.
That non-fat
Powdered milk.
powdered
Powdered
milk.
milk.
That was nasty.
But you're right. It was like we didn't
was
have any
open.
cares because everything we needed was right there.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I remember just growing up and having very, very fond memories.
Yeah.
But then when I think about it, Julie, there was some
darkness there.
There was some darkness.
We didn't even know. We didn't even know.
We're not aware of it.
But I do recall there was a situation, you guys, where we were in elementary school. And I remember we would just go to school late every day. We would just walk to school. We'd be like a minute or two late. But when the bell rang, you had to be inside the school. That particular day, we got up and we were on time. We went and played on the playground. Never forget. Mr. Miller came out there and he says, what are y'all doing on this playground? It's like, we're playing. I kept playing. I didn't care.
Mhm.
And he says, line up. I'm going to whoop all of y'all. And I'm like, whoop us? Why? He said, I told you, whenever this school, you get to school, you come in the school building. You do not play on this playground. He lined up about 100 kids up.
And why were we not allowed to play on the playground?
Because what happened was one of our classmates, remember one of the girls in the school, she got
Right.
shot,
I remember.
a drive-by shooting. That was what year was that, Juliet?
That would have been 1980,
Yeah,
1981, something like that.
She got shot on the playground, so quite naturally they said, no, you guys can't be on the playground because we don't want you being killed. So Mr. Miller lined us all up and he spanked everybody. Because I remember it hurt.
And
I never got paddled before.
Right, we were good
They didn't
kids.
call your parents. They didn't care about calling your
Right.
parents.
You didn't have to ask parents. You got a paddle.
Yeah,
The
it was-
principal said you get a paddle. I remember that paddle because he lined us all up. We went in the
did.
door one by one. He had a big brown paddle and he paddled us, but I had a cola.
Oh,
So that the wind caught it. I
he
remember.
hit my legs.
Wow.
My legs burned for 2 periods.
I remember squeezing my butt in
I
and
could
running
hardly
past.
walk.
Wow. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Miller didn't play.
He did,
But it was because that little girl had got shot and killed.
Yeah.
I remember,
Yeah.
I never forget when we had gone to the grocery store with my mom one day,
Oh,
and we got home, and she turned on the news,
yeah.
and there was a story. There was this little girl. She was about our age, maybe a little bit younger. They were struggling. The little girl was trying to help her
Yeah,
mother,
I'm sad.
and she was taking people's groceries from the store in a cart
Mhm.
to their trunk, putting it in the trunk. Well, I remember they were saying the little girl was missing.
Yeah.
And I was like intrigued by this story.
Mhm.
So the next day, woke up and found out that the little girl,
Yeah.
they had found her body. A man had taken her when she was
Yeah.
taking the groceries
Yeah.
and threw her in the woods somewhere. So,
Mhm.
and I remember thinking, wow, we were just there like
Yeah.
5-10 minutes before the little girl had got kidnapped.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was sad.
Yeah,
That was
that
kind of
was
hard. So yeah, those kind of hard things. Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Sault Ste.
Sault Ste. Marie.
I'll never forget
Me
it.
neither. I'll
Because
never forget it
I
either.
was traumatized by that.
Me
I'll
too.
never forget it.
I was like, wow.
I'll never forget it. So the fight on the street.
Oh
Fight on
yeah,
the
you
street.
guys, we were probably in Highland Park, Michigan.
We were.
There was these two guys. They just started arguing, started fighting, just fussing at each other, and all of a sudden, they one of them put out a gun. Now, mind you, in Detroit, when something happened during that time, everybody was being nosy.
And we were probably outside playing.
We were outside playing. I said, these men, they were here fighting. Let's listen to them. That guy was within feet of us. Remember that?
Oh, I
He was right in
remember.
front of the door. They
I
started
remember 'cause
fighting.
we were watching it.
That guy pulls out a gun and he shoots between. That guy was like standing with his legs straddled. He shot between his legs right there and hit the concrete. And all of a sudden, my mom came out that house.
Wow.
Get in this house! Don't you ever go outside. They're shooting the guns. You come in this house. I was like,
remember,
I said, Mom, she was
lit.
mad. She said, that bullet could have gone anywhere. She said, if you see this happening, you don't stay outside. You better get in this house. Did she even whoop us?
I don't, probably not. No,
Okay.
Mom. But to
Well,
think
she was
about,
hot. I wouldn't even think about the danger.
we didn't even think about the danger.
Yeah.
And really, it was think about how we used to go to the corner store. That was we loved the corner store.
We loved it.
The corner
We loved
store
it.
was a thing, y'all. Like
Yeah.
there was a store on either side of about 10 houses. So
Yeah.
we would always go to the corner store. Back then you could recycle cans. Like
Yeah.
Fago was a big pop in Detroit. We take our
Oh,
5 cent.
Fago. Oh my goodness.
And we had my mom used to drink Pepsi.
Yeah.
So she had the glass Pepsi bottles. We would take those for 10 cents.
They
The
were
Fago cans were 5 cents. So we would
Aluminum
take
cans.
aluminum cans.
The
We would
bottles.
take those to the corner
Yes,
store
Yeah.
every day, all day. And
Yeah.
you could get penny candy. That was a big thing.
It was.
That was
The
a
store.
big thing.
Love the
Because
corner
corner store. But you know, when I think about the corner store, remember those men would be standing out in front of the corner store
Yeah, liquor bottles.
with their brown
And you
bags.
guys, we were in the stores. They didn't even bother us.
Never bothered us. But it was like all day. We walked in front of them,
Danger had no.
not even realizing the danger.
And I didn't think about it. Even in the corner store, remember, everywhere in Detroit, they had bars up.
Right. Bars and glass, plastic glass.
And he would pass, plexiglass.
Plexiglass.
Shot him so much. He would pass the candy through the little
Through the window.
bars.
Through
We're
the-
like,
through the
okay,
little
normal.
slot.
Yep, normal for us.
That was a normal way of life for us.
Ooh.
We never, it was just every day.
Yeah.
It was common.
Yeah.
Like I remember one time we went to, my dad was a fisherman. So
Fished all the
he
time.
fished all the time. And we would go to Canada because
Yeah.
Canada was right over the bridge.
Yeah.
You didn't need a
Foreign
passport.
country.
You
Wow.
didn't need any of that. We just went over
All
to
the
Canada
time.
all the time, just cross the bridge. And my dad would like to go, he liked to go fishing at night because it's peaceful, it's quiet, you catch
Yeah.
fish.
Mhm.
And we would spend the night.
Yeah, that was
And it was a big adventure because he would get us all kind of treats and stuff.
Mhm.
But I remember coming home one time, it was actually right before we moved. I
Yeah.
remember coming home and my dad opened the door, he put the key in the lock,
Oh,
opened the
yeah.
door, he closed the door and he looked back at my mom. And then he
Yeah.
opened the door again and we walked in the house and somebody had broke in and our
They
house,
tore everything up,
everything.
even the toys.
They went in our
threw everything,
bedrooms,
yeah.
threw all the
There
dressers
was
out.
just drawers. Yeah. They had even clothes out.
They
Remember
went
that?
through everything,
Everything.
Jewel. They
They
went
did.
through everything. They didn't steal clothes, but my dad had some shotguns. He was
Yeah.
a hunter.
Yeah,
They stole that.
those.
Anything of value. Anything of value.
Yeah.
They took. But I remember even at 8 or 9,
Yeah.
feeling like,
Violated.
feeling
I didn't
violent.
feel safe. I was like, I don't want to be in this
After that, I
house.
was not safe.
And my dad, he says somebody was watching us. They knew this is
Absolutely.
inside job.
Somebody's always home. People didn't go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
People didn't go anywhere.
They didn't go far.
They didn't go far,
They
guys.
didn't go long,
They went to
for
the
sure.
corner store. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
To the grocery store. But so it was somebody in that neighborhood because that was kind of a way of living too. You just had to watch your back.
You did.
And really,
you
it became after that. I remember nobody could. Somebody always had to be at the house.
Yeah,
a parent,
yeah.
a parent.
Yeah,
Had
we
to
were not gonna-
always
yeah,
be there. We
yeah,
couldn't go to the store together. Couldn't go
Mhm.
shopping together because somebody had to be at the
there.
house.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was
was
they were like opportunists.
absolutely.
Looking for
And
opportunities.
then right before the move, the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh yeah. You guys, my parents in Detroit, it was something about it's called a cabaret. It's when you dress up to the nines, and you go out. Well, they were going to the cabaret on New Year's Eve. They went to the cabaret, they looked so nice, it was all dressed up. Once again, it was at our auntie's house. And my mom she'd been gone for 2 hours.
About 2 hours.
Auntie
And then we were
said-
supposed to be spending the night.
Yeah.
Remember?
We were all
Spend the
excited with
night.
our cousins and stuff, and Auntie said, "You can go home now. Your mom's home." We were like, "She's home. What they doing home? This is early." And went in there. My mom had on her glasses. I'm like, "Why you got on your glasses?" She says, "I never thought I would see you guys."
She had been crying.
She had been crying. She told us a story what happened to her. You probably could talk about it. That was rough.
They had like Jules said, they were going to a cabaret because that's the thing in Detroit. They were going
City
to
life.
They were going to a cabaret, and it was a BYOB, bring your own bottle.
Yeah.
And they went to probably a liquor store.
Corner store.
A corner store. Mm-hmm. Went to a liquor store, went in and got whatever alcohol they were getting. When they came back and got in the car, there were two men in the car.
In the seat.
Seat.
Before you heard about carjacking, that stuff has been going on. It just has a name now. That was carjacking.
They put a gun to my father's head.
Yeah.
Robbed him blind, told him he had to give up his wallet, his watch, anything that he had of value.
Yeah.
And then they told him to get out the car.
Yeah.
Told my mother to stay in the car.
Yeah.
Told him to get out. He said, well, what about her? They said, no, she's staying here.
Yeah.
Put him out the car, had her drive off.
With those guys in the car. She was in the middle. And they were like, you're going to drive us. And she began to drive. They began to drive her. And they stopped in an alley. Okay, I could imagine what mom must have thought, Juliet.
That's why she was so afraid.
Yeah. So she said they told her, get out the car. We want you to walk. And as you're walking away from us, don't look back at us. We want your jacket. It was her mink coat.
Yeah.
In Detroit, you guys, mink coats, they're still popular now, but they were all the same.
It's like an East Coast thing.
Love those mink coats. And she had a mink coat on all her mom's rings and things. And so the guy just wants you to walk, and I want you to give me your mink coat, and I want you to take off your rings, and you pass them to me. But do not look at me. She said she took off her jacket and gave him her rings, and she looked him dead in his face. He said, didn't I tell you don't look at me? Put that gun right here.
Yeah.
And she said, at that point, she said, no, you taking my mother's stuff? I'm going to look at you. But then by the grace of God, they ran off.
By the grace of God, man.
And our dad was at a police substation.
Yeah.
And my mom actually drove there, and by the grace, he was there, my mom was there. I know he was so scared.
You know, he was probably thinking he was never going to see her again.
But you think she'd think about herself. But I'm going to tell you what, when she came home, she was like, I'm okay to leave now. She was done.
That was it.
My
dad had got, they were announcing that they were going to be transferring people out, and they wanted to know what families were interested.
We were on the first.
At that time, my dad was like, put me on the list.
We're going.
So they called all of us into the room. They sat us down, and they said, we are moving.
Yeah.
And we are moving from Michigan to Ohio. And I remember thinking, Ohio. Because I love the way, I was fascinated with the way it was spelled.
Really?
Yeah, I was. Even back then.
That's one of the shirts when
remember we used to say school. High in the middle?
Yeah.
And I just, then high in the right. It was one of the.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest ones to spell in school.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. So what were you thinking, Jewel, when
you guys, I didn't want to go. I was thinking about the cousins and even all that danger. When you live in those elements, you just adapt to your environment. And I know we had a tough exterior on us. We didn't mean to. It's just that when you're around those kind of things,
that's who
you know how to.
You have to
navigate. You just navigate and you just get it done. You just
it's the way of life.
But you always carry yourself in a different way. You don't show weakness. And I was like, okay, I'm cool. But I was happy being in Detroit. I did not want to go, Juliet. I hated every thought of it, every minute. I was hoping that mom would come and say, we changed our mind. Christ was going to keep us here. Never did happen. But I absolutely hated every part of it.
Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't want to leave the cousins.
Yeah,
that was cousins and granddaddy. It was we didn't want to leave the family. I didn't want to leave the family. Granddaddy but I was excited where you were hesitant and apprehensive. I was very excited. I was like, okay, this is going to be an adventure. I remember the day before we left, my mom had one of the neighborhood girls braid our hair. It was a thing because that way she wouldn't have to worry about it for a couple of weeks.
Braiding hair.
And I remember as she was braiding my hair, I remember I had a moment of sadness because I thought, I don't know when I'm going to see her again. And
42 years later,
we never seen her again. But I remember coming home and they were loading up the U-Haul. Yeah, and I remember feeling.
Oh, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach, you guys.
Yeah.
You know that sinking feeling, like
where are we going?
This is really gonna happen.
Yep, this is happening. That's how I felt. Now I was excited where you were apprehensive, but I just remember that day. It's ingrained in my memory because it was it was a pivotal time in our lives. It was a very pivotal time of life.
And I recall we were in the car, and my mom and dad, we stopped off at the corner store. Love the corner store. U-Haul corner store.
One last trip to the corner store.
Our dad was in the U-Haul. My mom was driving the station wagon, right? And we went and got our little treats and stuff. And I remember looking back and watching the city of Detroit grow distant.
Like a dramatic scene.
It was dramatic. I was making myself uncomfortable. I was like, I want to leave. I said, let me just savor this city. And never mind you, our parents had been robbed and all this stuff.
And we had been spanked at the school.
It's all we knew.
Yeah,
I was like,
that was
oh my
home.
gosh,